Wow, we had a happy recap last night. David Talks Buffs and Carter over on our Let's Talk Buffs channel and on David Talks Buffs. We had something to finally celebrate. And then today we're back on Let's Talk Broncos. We're on David Talks Broncos, and we've got some more to celebrate. A quarterback heavy day in the state of Colorado for the first time in weekend rather, for who knows how long. David, how are you feeling here today?
Zach, thanks for having me on. What a weekend. I mean, going to sleep at 3 a.m. from the Buffs game, now waking up for this early game, and I'm so pumped. I'm so pumped I can finally put the foam head on after a victory, man. We saw Bo Nix turn the corner this weekend, look so much more comfortable. We saw this team get a really dominant team win outside of really one mistake. We played as close to as perfect as you can like realistically imagine. Like this was flawless. This was the team that I was expecting to see, Zach, last week against the Steelers. I was just a week early, man. But so many guys stepped up, had their moments, and I'm so glad we get to celebrate. First victory on the board for Sean Payton and the Broncos. We're back, baby.
Well, it feels that way. It feels absolutely tremendous. And to your point about like the perfect game, you have the Javonte fumble that sucks. That's painful. You have the touchdown on Riley Moss, but those are both like Javonte does a flip, lands on his head, fumbles the ball. That's a bad mistake. The Riley Moss one, he has perfect coverage on that play, and it's just a better thrown ball, a great play by the receiver. You live with that. You live if that's the way you're losing those games. Maybe not so much the fumble, but if that's the only way you're allowing points, that's awesome. You have some great fourth down stops, some takeaways, and that's not even getting into a Bo Nix, which is absolutely the star of the day, the conversation of the day.
Yes, yeah, Bo Nix, incredible, man. 216 passing yards, still waiting for that first passing touchdown. But what did we see at the beginning of the game, Zach? We saw Bo Nix get into a rhythm. We saw Bo Nix utilize his legs early on. Credit to the play calling. I thought they did a much better job of just getting him into a rhythm early and minimizing the mistakes. Less mistakes this week than we saw last week. And I would still say that last week we still had less mistakes than week one. And that's all you want to see. You just want to see that progression. And Bo Nix, man, he was on point. He made some really precise throws, down the field of Cortland Sutton. Shout out to our receivers, man. They actually caught the ball today. That was awesome to see. We caught the ball. And yeah, Bo Nix, he was getting the ball out early. And I love to see this, man. I love to see this. Seeing him get that rushing touchdown, that was great. The passing touchdowns will come, but who cares, man? We scored in the red zone a handful of times. That's something that we got to be pumped about. And the defense, I know you might have already mentioned this, Zach, but Riley Moss, man, we got a really good corner group, man. Like we made Baker Mayfield look like Carolina Baker Mayfield today. Riley Moss forcing that fumble at the end. Brandon Jones with 2 turnovers. Insane. I'll let you take it away.
No, I mean, you hit so much of it there. It looks amazing. I mean, this defense, what they're doing, the Riley Moss find could be so huge for this team. What we're seeing with him, Vance Joseph is cooking like a madman. If you look at the pressure rates or the blitz rates, he is blitzing. The Broncos are in their own galaxy. You might have heard about how aggressive Brian Flores and some of these Todd Bowles, who likes blitzing a lot. Vance Joseph is like doubling up their blitz rates. Like he is playing madman status this year. And if you have the corners playing at that level, I think the thing that was missing maybe the first 2 weeks was the safeties. You hit on Brandon Jones. PJ Locke was leading the team in tackles through 3 quarters. He was over the place, had a knucklehead penalty, but just the secondary as a whole, if they're playing like that, you can afford to be blitzing at a 70% rate. And you saw Baker in hell today. If they were able to finish some of those sacks a little earlier, Baker was able to, credit to him, shake off some of those tackles in the pocket. It could have even been an uglier day for the Bucs offense. I mean, it was, and they came up with the clutch stops every time they needed it. That last Brandon Jones takeaway, the few times the Bucs were getting a drive late and had to go for it on 4th down, they come up with those 4th down stops. It was a complete game. Like everything looked great. I just got it. Let's get into the Bo Nix of it all. I feel like that's the crown jewel here. You open that game up. I think that's got to be the first takeaway of the game. Bo Nix looking great. open the game up, and it's the downfield passing. Hits Cortland Sutton back shoulder, hit Josh Reynolds downfield after that, which was so promising. And just it starts the game, I think 8 of 10 for like 100 or so yards. Was just everything that Sean Payton's kind of like wildest sales pitch of Bo Nix. This incredibly accurate, incredibly poised, advanced quarterback. We did not see that the first 2 weeks. I think we saw the spitting image of that this week. I was so damn happy.
Yes. Settled in, man. Like, he was decisive. We've talked about this throughout the whole offseason. A rhythm and timing quarterback. He had his ups and downs early on in minicamp and in training camp as well. It was only a matter of time before he adjusts to that timing and rhythm of true NFL speed. And today he took another step in getting there. He was just so decisive, poised when he would tuck it down and run, man. He was very decisive with that, not holding on to the ball, doing anything crazy with it, accurate. There was that one that he just kind of airmailed a little bit to Troy Franklin. But overall, outside of some other tip passes that could have kind of gone some different ways, right? Took another step in being more accurate downfield, no doubt. And it was something that I don't think the Bucs were really ready for, man. I think that they were probably coming in here thinking we would kind of pound the rock a little bit, especially with, their DTs out. And to open it up, relying on the pass game early, I think kind of really threw them for a loop. And it was a great confidence builder for Bo Nix. When you can get a lead, a double-digit lead on the road for a rookie quarterback, that's the perfect scenario. And we didn't have to put any pressure on Bo Nix in the second half. And that's what was it was so encouraging, man, to see this team play complementary football and see everybody succeed.
For real, I do want to see a little more, I think, from that ground game. Beatty had some great carries, but outside of that, I think it's still, a little lackluster day from Jaleel and Javonte. That's something that concerns me. But to your point, this is the way this team wants to live. Get that opening drive touchdown, that opening script touchdown, and just allow these pass rushers to tee off on the opposing quarterback, allow the Broncos to lean on the run game some. I do think the run game was improved, even with McLaughlin and Javonte still having a rough day, just because they went to the QB run stuff a little more. Bo Nix had that read option where made number 3 on the Bucs look absolutely silly when he kept it. I hope we can continue to see more of that, because it seems like one of the more effective tools in the Broncos rushing attack right now, at least as it stands.
Yeah. When you can get into those, like you saw on 3rd and 1, and you run that zone read, we haven't been able to do that with our quarterback, like, I feel like ever, man. Like, in my lifetime, we really haven't. It was nice to see Sean Payton incorporate that just a little bit more. It's definitely a huge help to the run game. I think, Zach, I'm just going to come out here and say it, man. I want Tyler Beatty, man, getting the majority of the carries right now. I think he's making the most out of this offensive line. Jaleel's fine, man, as that number 2 back. That juke he put on for that first touchdown was insane. Just
had
insane.
No right making that play.
Yeah.
That was insane.
It totally crazy. One of the few play calls I was like, what the heck? But anyways, Jaleel made Sean Payton look good there. Javonte Williams, man, if you got bad vision, you're lacking explosiveness out there, and you're fumbling the ball, I just don't understand what value he really brings. Maybe as a 3rd down back, kind of in the passing game, like, I still feel okay. I can't remember if his fumble was off of a pass or a run, but it's just, I want to see what Beatty can do. I want to see what he can do getting a start.
Well, and it's such a small workload right now, or small sample size that we have to work off of. But it's incredibly promising, and he looked good in training camp. He looked good in the preseason. I think he's got like 5 carries for 70 yards or something right now. What is it? 10 carries for 86 yards on the season.
Are you kidding me?
Small workload, and it's being carried by he had the a couple explosive runs. The 16-yarder against the Steelers. He also has the I forget what his long carry today was, 40-some yard carry. The 22 or no, yeah, 43.
43.
So that's carrying that. But even if you remove that, what he's 9 for 40. Yeah, he's 9 for 43, which is still almost 5 yards a pop, dramatically better than what any of the Broncos' other running backs are getting them. I'm with you. Give him more looks, and it seemed like they were doing in this game. He kept getting more workload as the game went on. I think they were recognizing that, and I just think that he is. You said it perfectly. He's making the most of this offensive line right now. I think Jaleel has the vision, but he goes down very, very easy. Also, a bit of a tell. There's a lot of limitations with what he can and can't do on the football field. Javonte gives you that versatility, but it's a real jack of all trades, master of none situation, and that might be generous right now with the holes in his game.
Yeah.
Beatty can at least be a standard running back. And with the lanes this line was opening today, that's all you need. And so I do think got to be working Beatty more into the offense. And once Estimate comes back, him as well. I think both those guys have to get more usage.
Yes. And Zach, it would be so rude of us not to shout out this player making their first career start. I didn't really pay attention to him throughout this game, which is a good sign. Alex Pilcheski. I think he had a pretty good game, right?
I thought it was an amazing game. Like, and I was putting this in our LTB group chat. You can spin it positively or negatively. Positively, dang, they found a UDFA off the street who's plug and play. Right tackle play is like right what they were getting beforehand. It's awesome. He's a replacement level right tackle. Maybe you have an answer going forward at tackle. Flip side, you are paying Mike McGlinchey a lot of money. And is he giving you worse tackle play than you just found from an undrafted free agent? And you've restructured this contract where you're pretty beholden to Mike McGlinchey moving forward. I hope Papchewski can learn how to play left side starting next year, but no matter what, finding a tackle like that off the street is so positive. And in his first game against a Bulls front, they were injured on the defensive line, but they're going to throw 5-6 pass rushers at you constantly. You are going to be put on an island constantly as a tackle going against a Bulls pass rush. To your point, held up great. What was also good in the run game, he might have been the most promising performance of the day, as good as Nick's, as good as all the other aspects were.
I'm not sure how many dropbacks we had total, because I know Nick scrambled for a few, so maybe around 40 dropbacks, no sacks with the offensive line.
Huge.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's game changing. And it's like, and he was holding the ball too. I thought he was actually like the timing was a little better, but it wasn't like, the crazy short stuff. It wasn't a Tua offense where it's like we're really hiding that offensive line. And one thing too, Bo Nix was not Russell Wilson levels of bad, but he was creating a fair number of his own pressures. I thought he was a lot better in that regard today. Yes. And the coaching staff, even, I mean, in the third, fourth quarter, there's a section, they have that drive. They're backed up on their own end zone. They run a boot, and Zion McCollum is all over it. And that was my moment of like, ooh, the Bucs know what you guys are doing, and you need to start tinkering. From that play on, they lead maybe their best offensive drive of the game, get down in field goal position and put it away. The red zone offense, I think, is maybe still a point of frustration, but this Broncos team pretty easily scored 26 points today. Man, and it felt good. It felt like a good 26. It might have felt better than any of the scoring outputs I saw under Russell Wilson last year.
Dude, last week, our offense, that might have been the worst offensive performance I'd ever seen aside. I don't know. It's pretty close with that Russell Wilson Colts game on Thursday Night Football where fans were leaving as overtime was starting. It was so ugly. That's how last week felt. It was great to just see this offense, man, turn the corner. Even though, this isn't the most explosive offense, you got weapons, man. It was Zach, I don't know if maybe I just need to kind of give up my hope for Marvin Mims, like right now, honestly. But it was great to see Troy Franklin get involved on some quick passes, some bubbles, also some targets downfield. That's great to see them incorporating him into this offense. I would love to see more of them on the field. I know that we got some of that, but it's encouraging to see at least one of our speed players getting some targets finally in this offense. It's not just little Jordan Humphrey stick routes and stuff like that being hit.
Yeah. And here's my I've been thinking about this for like a few days now. Here's my cope on the Marvin Mims thing, because I'm with you. It looks bad. He's very clearly in the doghouse. He is down on this depth chart. He's probably not going to be as productive this year as he was last year. I point to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk had a fine first season in San Francisco. Going into year two, they just draft Trey Lance. They're like, this offense is going to get more explosive, and Brandon Ayuk and Trey Lance have crazy chemistry. These guys, they've been connecting all camp long. This is the year Brandon Ayuk lights it up. And then week one, everyone's surprised because he's not coming out there in 11 personnel. He's buried on the depth chart, and everyone's confused why. And it comes out he's in he's in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. And that's the reason he's not seeing the field. He hasn't been route running to the level they want him to, and they're kind of punishing him, and they're leaving him on the bench as a result. He doesn't have that breakout season in 2021. He takes a step back in terms of production from what he even did his rookie year. Then year three is the crazy Brandon Ayuk breakout, and ever since, he's been a top 10 receiver in the NFL. I think that would be wildly optimistic. I would not expect that to happen with Marvin Mims. But to your point, do we just throw in the towel on Mims? It's probably not happening this year, but maybe it could happen next year. Maybe he can make the adjustments he has to. Really quick, I'm sorry, my hater, and this is going to pop up here. Man, Russell Wilson Muse is out here deleting tweets. Man, I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. We were doing victory laps because Russell Wilson was holding a clipboard. I cannot believe it. Oh, man. Today's a good day. David, give me another takeaway. What's something that stood out to you?
Man, I got to take a victory lap on this, Zach. I did a video on this months and months ago. I was getting reamed in the comments to say, Dave, you're way overhyping this. No, I called Dondre Tillman the freaking Myles Garrett of the UFL. Doesn't make the roster. My heart is broken, but then signed to the practice squad. Elevated today with the injury to Baron Browning. And what do we see? Just another casual, dominating performance in the second half from Dondre Tillman. And let me read you his stat line. Number 92. That's right. What a find by George Payton. Got to give him credit on this one. But 3 tackles, all solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. This guy needs to stay on the roster. That's how I feel about it.
He has to continue to be activated. I fully agree there. That is a blessing in disguise coming out of the Baron Browning injury. And Baron Browning, I hate to say it, but he has a big contract situation coming up this year. Very good chance. He walks. They decide to keep Jonathan Cooper instead. And the edge group we saw today of Cooper, Benito, Jonah Ellis, and Tillman, maybe that is the group going forward. And with what you saw today, I think you'd be more than happy with that. Cooper got a sack as well, so he's got the team lead right now with 3 sacks.
Love it.
Did Zach Allen get one today as well?
He did.
But okay, so then
we had 7 sacks.
It was an unreal, and it could have been more. Again, Baker got out of some there. Yeah, so now Zach Allen and Dondre Tillman, who's only been active for 1 single game. Zach Allen, meanwhile, is like tied with Chris Jones in terms of pressures created by interior defensive tackles. Zach Allen and Dondre Tillman are now tied for second most sacks on this team.
John Franklin Myers with the sack.
Dude, John Franklin Myers looking good. And that's the one thing about this Vance Joseph defensive line. Everyone is getting the sack production because just everyone is getting in there on the quarterback. The pressure looks are exciting. This defense was legit. We've seen it 3 weeks now. The Steelers offense is limited, but that Seahawks offense is good. That Bucs offense we saw these first 2 weeks is plenty good. I think this defense is legit. I think they are much closer to the unit we saw the second half of last. I mean, obviously they got 70 dropped on them, but they look to be that same defense we saw down the stretch of last year. You're not getting the crazy takeaway luck, but you're playing like the 10th, 9th best defense in the league, and that's so far above expectation, I think.
Zach, we got a secondary that can cover, man. That feels so good. This just serves what Vance Joseph, like you alluded to earlier, it just serves what he wants to do so well because he can come up with these blitz heavy packages, bring heat a lot of the time. And he can have confidence, man, that we can cover. Now, are you going to get beat on that man coverage every now and then? That touchdown to Chris Godwin, again, good coverage, just a better play, man, a better throw. But that's going to happen every now and then. Overall, I mean, McMillan, their rookie, was not a factor at all. Mike Evans wasn't a factor at all, and Chris Godwin, he was the guy that got the most action. But again, outside of that touchdown, yeah, 6 receptions, 53 yards. The next 2 guys that were most impactful for the Bucs was Cade Otton, not a very super explosive tight end in my opinion, and then Rachaad White had 5 catches for 18 yards. So we really did limit them. But I will say, a side note, Zach, how great would Bucky Irving be in this offense, man?
He looked great. I was big wrong on Bucky Irving. I was not a big fan there. Watching what we saw today, I'm like, man. Also, he should be stealing Rachaad White's job.
Yeah.
But, he's a good back. That would be sweet. Hopefully, Estime makes me not long for that so much once he comes back healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Broncos are going to have a new rookie running back next year, getting a lot of carries. If I had to bet, I'd say Javonte walks. They bring a new guy in. Hopefully, it's not in the first round. That would make me nauseous. But I think they draft a running back probably in like the first 4 rounds.
I'm fine with they do. We just need playmakers everywhere. I'm curious, Zach, staying on the defensive side.
Yep.
What were you expecting from Brandon Jones after we signed him? Like, what was your kind of opinion on him? And it was great to see him have the game today that he had.
Yeah, my opinion on him, I just think he's a home run hitter, and I think he's good in this Vance Joseph defense. The first few seasons he was with Brian Flores in Miami. They looked really strong. Then he had a year he missed with injury, kind of. He was in and out of the lineup. Then he goes into this Vic Fangio defense that is so, conservative, asking him to kind of play back on his heels instead, which is not his play style. I think he had one of the worst years of his career last year. You get him back in this aggressive defense that's going to ask him to play man a lot more, ask him to do a lot more of the things that Brian Flores was asking him to do, blitz the quarterback, for example. And I think the first 2 weeks were a little up and down from him.
Yeah.
Lights out today. I mean, he was absolutely unreal, and a huge part of the reason they did to this Bucs passing attack what they did. Baker Mayfield has 40 dropbacks today. The Bucs, when you factor in sacks and everything, finished with 130 passing yards. They entered the day with a dropback EPA of 0.42. Brock Purdy was historically good last year at 0.32. And so that's obviously inflated by the 2-week sample size. That's probably not what they're going to do all season, but they were playing like a hyper elite passing attack through 2 weeks. The Broncos held them to 130 yards on 40 dropbacks. If Brandon Jones doesn't give the performance he did, that's not happening. Same thing with PJ Locke. That was the difference to me in the secondary today. Pat Surtain's been lights out all year long. I know there were some ugly moments in that Steelers game. I think if you look closer at it, he was pretty great that week. Riley Moss has been great all season long. McMillan's been great all season long. The safety play has been where it's been up and down. Today was a big up, and it was critical for him.
Yes. Man, I'm just trying to think of anybody else who really just does deserve a shout out, man.
Cooper. I mean, I'd throw him. He's at 3 sacks now, on pace to get well over double digits this season. I think he's going to get a nice payday from the team. He had a good day. Yeah, we hit Tyler Beatty. Javonte had a rough one. Josh Reynolds, I thought that release he had was good. Oh, Cortland Sutton. We got to talk about Cortland Sutton.
Yeah.
He's been really slow to start this season. He had a few really nice grabs. And, if he doesn't go so hard to the sideline on that one toss-up, he did a great job corralling the ball. If he gave himself a little more room to work with there, I think there's a great chance that's a touchdown.
Yeah. This is what I was expecting to see from Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton together, man. It just took a couple games to kind of get that chemistry going with the NFL speed. But it was just so great to start seeing things click. To see this team, man, I always get so worried when they go on the East Coast to play these 11 a.m. games, it always worries me. I feel like we never play our best. And to see them come out and get started on a 17-0 lead, something like that, or 14-0, like to see them come out on the road and do that against a playoff team last year, against a team that started out really hot these first 2 weeks. This makes me feel like, man, we can be in every game we play this year if we just, again, we got to eliminate those slow starts, and we did that this week. Like, I got to be honest, man, after that Steelers game last week, it's like, man, I don't even know how this Jets game coming up after this is going to go. And if we're, I wasn't expecting to see us win this week, but we won in dominating fashion. This defense is just playing so well to start out the gate. And if we can continue to just limit those mistakes, who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows what happens?
And I gotta say, the most I'll close on this thing. I think the most promising thing to me, and you alluded to it with the training camp and the mini camp preseason stuff with Knicks, the consistent improvement.
Yes.
That's why I was always out on Drew Lock. I'm like, this is the same dude game 16 that he was game 1. Bo Nix, from the first training camp practice I was there for to the last one, markedly better player. From the first preseason game we all saw him to the second one, only had the 2. But like, we saw the footwork improve. We saw so much improve from week 1 to week 2. Even though the offense in week 2 was probably worse as a whole, Bo Nix looked like he had settled in some. I think it was still a bad quarterbacking performance, but it didn't look like, holy shit, this guy's over his skis.
Yes.
And then from bad quarterbacking to straight up like good quarterbacking today, the footwork was so much better. The accuracy was so much better. He was seeing things so much better. And I think if you are seeing those leaps, it wasn't to me like the Lock Texans game, where if you go back and watch that Lock against Texans game and he was on fire, he's hitting some crazy windows. He was just on a heater that day. It was just like everything's hitting. You're at the craps table and you just can't do anything wrong. That feels different to me than what we saw from Knicks today, which feels like market growth and improvement and learning and adjusting to the NFL game. And I mean, that's what will decide whether or not you're going to be a franchise quarterback. Who knows if it ever reaches superstar? We won't know that, I think, for a while. But to reach that point of like, you can hang around in the NFL, you have to be able to grow and improve. And it sounds like a small thing. Trubisky's never been able to do that. Daniel Jones is 7 years in, never been able to do that. We're already seeing early signs of Knicks being able to do that at a high level, I think. And that is so damn promising to me.
Dude, he looked competent, man. He looked more than competent. And I just want to give the operation between Sean Payton and him some credit too, because compared to Seattle, granted, Tampa Bay is not playing in Seattle, but getting that play call in so much quicker. We were getting to the line with like 15, 12 seconds, so much more time to just run motion and get a better look at what Bo Nix was going to see. The operation just looks so much cleaner from play call to snap. I loved it. And I think that fixing that, or I don't know, just kind of ironing that out, rather, it led to better results with this offense, like functioning smoothly.
Fully agree. And you had the one hiccup, I think it was the first drive even, where you have the motion player going, they have to rush down, call a timeout. From that point on, it was money. There weren't any of those snafus the rest of the way. I think that's a great point. They really cleaned it up. Man, I'm on cloud 9 right now. David, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the time last night as well. Tell everyone from my channel where they can go find your work, support all the great coverage you provide.
Guys, David Talks Broncos on YouTube. I think we're just under 1,800 subscribers now, so come and join. Just search that. And I do Broncos videos pretty much every day. Tomorrow, I'll have a reaction with my friend Marky Sports and Jeremy Otten. So we'll do a roundtable on that. And then if you do like college football, definitely subscribe to David Talks Buffs. Check out my reaction from the Miracle at Boulder last night. That was just incredible. And I got another reaction video for that coming here later this evening. But Zach, man, this was so much fun. We got to be doing more of this.
Yeah. Oh, after the results this weekend, I'm definitely having you back on. We need to keep the good times rolling. So thank you again, David. People, please check out his work. David's a great friend of all our shows over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, love both of us kind of coming up in the same generation of Denver sports creators. So support him. Thank you everybody for supporting us. If you're watching us on David's stream, find us at Let's Talk Broncos, Let's Talk Buffs. Got a ton of great analysis as well. We've got a wide ranging team. We've got your crazy people with Mario and Pat. They're going to go off the rails some. And then
Yes.
we've got our hardcore X's and O's film breakdowns with Robbie and Frankie every Friday. We whole spectrum coverage. So check that out as well. Until next time, everybody, go Broncos. Let's celebrate.
Go.